Hey everyone, Justin here. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can make a massive crowd like this in Unreal using our plugin Vertex Animation Studio, which is a way of animating crowds using textures rather than skeletal mesh animations. And you can see that you can have lots and lots of crowds running in. This is running in over 100 FPS. And it's very easy to set up. So I'm going to show you that now, and let's get started. Okay, so here I have a generic third person level, and I have my mesh down here, SK Mannequin, that I want to generate an asset for. So let's just right click on here, and you can see under vertex animation we can make either a bone animation or a vertex animation. Vertex animations are generally slightly faster but use a lot more memory, whereas bone animations, they generate information just for every bone rather than every vertex, meaning they use a lot less memory, and they can allow things such as animation sharing or lotting. If you want more information on these two options, there is some information on our documents, but generally we're just going to stick with bone animations because they allow us to do more. After I click this, we can pick the animations that we want to include, and we can save it. Now, after saving, this will generate an asset here that we can open up and we can preview in the custom animation editor. You can change the animation that you want to preview. You can also scrub along here, and you have your playback controls down the right. On the right here, we have all of the animations in our asset. We can change some of the mesh options. We can change some of the material options in here. Anytime you change any of these settings, for example, if I change this to 1 instead of 4 bones per vertex, it won't actually take effect straight away. So you can see that if I go like the wave, this looks normal. It'll only change after you rebuild the asset. So anytime you change one of these properties, you have to rebuild the asset. So after this is compiled the materials, we can go have a look at that wave again. And since we've dropped it from 4 bone influences to 1, you can see that the all the vertices down here are now stretching. So that's kind of a performance option that you can turn on, which will save time on the GPU, but could potentially cause issues like this. So we're just going to turn this back up to 4 and once again rebuild the asset. So just make sure that anytime you change any of these settings, you rebuild, and you can now see that that is back to normal. So yeah, if you're curious about where we store all of the animation textures and stuff, under this cog up here, you can turn on show built data and you can see all of that information if you're familiar with Vertex Animation. But now that we have this, we can just start placing it in the level like we would any other skeletal mesh. So we place it in, and then on the right here we have some options for the animation mode. So currently it's just using our single mode. We'll go over the other two in a future video. We have the animation that is playing, so we can change all of this if we want. We can change play rate. We can change the start position. We can play it in reverse if we want. And yeah, generally you can just play animations exactly how you would with a skeletal animation. If you want to start painting these in the level, I'm just going to get this guy and delete him. Under the modes editor, there is a crowd editing option, which is very similar to the foliage tool, if you're familiar with that. So once we open this, you can see that it'll ask us to drop our asset in. So we can place this in here, and it'll ask us to create a brush. If we open the brush that we just created, you can see all of the different options. So this is kind of like a paintbrush. You can change where, like the rotation of these, the spacing between them, the scales. You can change what mesh we're painting if we want shadows. All of these kind of options. And we can also see these if we just click on the new mesh that it generated up here. It'll show the exact same window. So in our instance data, in our animation data, we're going to change this back to our single animation. And we're going to, let's just paint some guys that are waving. So we'll select this one to turn it on to make sure that we're going to be painting this one. And we'll head over to our paint and we can just start placing these in level. And you can see that they'll start waving. Much like the foliage tool, there is an erase option. If you don't like where you place them, you can erase them. We have a single placement mode where you can click and drag to rotate. So you can get refined controls for where you want these to go. You can hold control and scroll up to scale, and scroll down to scale. We have a grid tool, so you can place a grid of characters. If I raise this up, you can see that it will place them projected to the ground, which if you don't want it to, you can turn off the project to ground option. And we can change, the counts and the spacing between all of these. Once we're happy with our grid, we can press accept, and now we have a grid of characters that are waving. We also have a selection mode, so that's the default mode. If I click on this character, I can move him around. I can press F to zoom in on him. I can delete if I don't like that one. And we also have a box select if you hold Control, Alt, and then left click. We have cloning commands, so if you hold Alt and drag, and we have rotation and scale as well. So anything that you can kind of do in the regular asset editor, you can do in here as well. And yeah, that's how you can create and start painting your assets. In the next video, we're going to have a look at some of those other modes so that we can add some logic to these. And I can show you kind of how we got the crowds in our soccer stadium to cheer when you get a goal. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.